My name is Sonya Kelliher Combs, and I'm from Alaska, born in Bethel, raised in Nome. I think it was a series of life experiences growing up, living in a family that, we relied a lot off living off the land and using materials and making, objects for to create, clothing and utilitarian art objects and things, and I guess that kind of influenced what I was going to do. I went to college. I thought I'd be a lawyer, and I took an art class and never looked back, so I became an artist. As an Alaska Native artist, I am Inupiaq and Athabascan, which most people would call Eskimo and Indian, and the cultural background that I come from definitely impacts and influences the work that I create. I consider myself not only an Alaska Native artist, but a woman of color, or an artist of color, and just many different things influence the work that I create, from things like subsistence activities, gathering food off the land, creating clothing and beadwork and jewelry work, things like that, that all influences the work that I make. The work behind me is called Golden Idiot Strings. And idiot strings, my mom used to say, you can't lose your mittens, so she would make us these strings to tether our mittens so that we wouldn't lose them, and so that when we were working out in the winter weather, we could tie them behind us and they wouldn't get lost. And so that's the imagery for the piece. Conceptually, it's based on a couple different ideas. The tether is metaphorical for staying connected and not forgetting where you come from and who you are and where you belong and your place in the world. Connections to land and nature and each other. And also, originally when I first started creating these works, they were memorials to 3 of my uncles who had committed suicide. Suicide is a huge issue in many different populations, but particularly in Alaska Native populations. Alaska Natives are 3 times above the national average to commit suicide. So I wanted to create a work that addressed these issues, and that's what this piece is about. This piece, Idiot Strings, Gold Idiot Strings, is made from, not walrus, but sheep and reindeer rawhide, which when I make it, I stitch it wet, soak it for a while first, and then I stuff it with plastic to create a husk-like form. It becomes hard and maintains that mint shape. The rest of it is composed of wool and beeswax and wire, the armature that holds those mitten forms. So Pink Slips is a piece that is based on the stretching of skin and hide, and reminiscent of a garment. I've done a series of pieces that are dealing with social ills, and one of them is the abuse and psychological, emotional, physical abuse of children and women. And so these pieces are addressing these issues. This is actually a synthetic skin. It's not marine mammal or any kind of, there's no natural material within it. So it's strictly a paint skin, which I create with gel medium and acrylic polymer. Maybe there's a little paper and a little bit of fabric embedded in some areas, but that's what that piece is about. And it takes probably, I'd say, 4 weeks to create one of those fully. So, yeah. The series of drawings, I think that something that's interesting to me is I also do this handicraft, these smaller works, jewelry, and these kind of little portable secrets, these pouch forms that I become jewelry or amulets and things like that. And the drawings are kind of like a link between those. They're more intimate, small works that maybe I'll do multiples of those. And the same with Gray Curl, which is the long gray installation. Those pieces are smaller works that become a part of a larger work, similar to the role of an individual within a community or a family. And so they're all similar, but none of them are exactly the same, and that's kind of the commentary on these multiple pieces. I'm not really, when I'm creating the work that I make, I don't have a specific audience in mind. I think the most important thing to me is that it shares, what's important in the message within the content within my work. And I've always told the story that once the work leaves the studio, that conversation is done. That piece is ready to leave. It doesn't belong with me anymore. And I'm hoping that it's reaching a nice broad audience. I'm really honored to be, here in LA in this space and being able to share a part of who I am and where I come from. As a kind of parting idea is I'd like to thank, people like Susie Seelig, my family, my grandmother, my mom, all these people who have really influenced, and made me who I am. And I believe that every, step that you take, and it doesn't matter which direction you're going, that makes you who you are. And so, whether it's positive or negative things that have happened to you, you can learn from those things, and you can, grow and share your experience with the world. And that's what I want to do is, just tell people it's all okay. We all have all these things that happen to us, but we can persevere, and we will.